Hi, I'm Melanie Blake, and welcome to the second episode of Girl Talk, an online YouTube series where we aim to shine a light on issues that women all over the world are facing in the spotlight and outside of the spotlight. This edition features on women who are in media and the disparity between the way that men and women who are in the spotlight are treated. They say that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, but the way that these women have had experiences in their careers show that actually women are from a completely different galaxy, and it looks like men are the ones that are getting all the privileges. So I would like to introduce you to my panel, who are going to talk us through their decades-long battle for equality and some terrible stories, sadly, I'm afraid to say, that show that we are still far from achieving that balance. We have the wonderful Beverley Callard, Queen of Coronation Street, Claire Richards, songstress, and she will never admit it, but voice of Steps, and Coleen Nolan, everybody's favourite loose woman and agony aunt. Girls, welcome to the show.
How are you? Good to see you.
Today's topic, as we know, is how do we feel that as women, particularly you three, because obviously you're way out there and have been for a long time, are treated in media versus men. We've had so many movements. We've had Me Too. We've had lots of fantastic racial readjustment at the moment, but we haven't had any sort of gender disparity, as far as I'm concerned, dealt with yet, in the way that women are reported on, featured, described, and talked about. Everything seems to be directed about the way that we look, how old we are, and that is nothing like the way that men are treated. I wanted to ask you three, having been in the public eye as long as you've been, and you've been around through so many different eras of when it was a lot less acceptable for people to be less kind, and in an era now where people don't feel the need to be kind at all, to give me your thoughts on what it's like to have been at the forefront of that. And I'm going to start with you, Claire. I was with you for a long time, about 10 years. And when we were together, you were constantly called, to be frank, the fat one from Steps. That was the media. That's the title they gave you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of weird because when I was in Steps, I had my own hang-ups and about how I felt and where I fitted in amongst the other girls and the rest of the band, really. And I put the pressure on myself. But as certainly after the band finished, I did, obviously, we all know, I put on loads and loads of weight, and it became the focus on me for such a long time. I mean, I did draw that focus to me a little bit by doing the fitness stuff and kind of talking about it quite a lot. But yeah, it just became, and it's taken me a long time, this new era of Steps. Every interview we ever did for the first couple of years of being back together, especially with the new album, it was all about, every single interview, somebody would ask the question, "Oh, Claire, you look great. So what have you done to lose the weight?" It was always focused on what I looked like and not about what we were there to talk about. And I kind of did the thing that people do. And I suppose from the other side, the media would think, oh, she's a diva because she doesn't want to talk about that. But I would put a boycott on being asked any questions about what I looked like, my weight, what I did to lose weight, or just for years to try and just stop people talking about it and focus on what I was there to promote.
The reason that you say that you focused and brought some of that attention on yourself was not because you chose to, it was because it would not go away. And I know, because I looked after you for 10 years during that period. And as your agent, we would get phone calls from bookers that would say, "How much does Claire Richards weigh?" And I would answer the phone. And I haven't discussed this with you. at length, because obviously you are now in a really happy place, and now we can delve a bit deeper into that background, and nobody wants to tell someone that those things are being said about them at that time, because you were bigger at the time, so therefore it was a more sensitive issue. But they used to ring me up and we would suggest you for a TV show, and they'd go, how fat is she? Those were their exact words. So you've got Brit Awards, you've sold millions of records, you're beautiful, you've got an amazing voice, and on top of all that, you're a lovely person. And that was what they would say to me. And I would go, so my first instinct as a manager was, are they wanting me to say that she's thin right now, or are they wanting me to say that she's bigger? I would go, why do you ask that? And they're like, because we really need a fat one. They would say that.
Yeah, I remember years ago that, and I have talked about this before, we did go for a meeting for I'm a Celeb, didn't we? And it was in a period of time where I had been losing weight. And I remember you did tell me the feedback was that I'd lost too much weight, and they wanted me to be bigger so that it was, I guess, so there would be less of me by the end of it. I don't know.
And we sat in that meeting together, and those executives are no longer here anymore, and they literally basically ignored you in that meeting when they saw that you were slim.
I mean, it did feel awkward. I mean, I'm glad I didn't get it anyway, because I'd have lasted about 2 seconds. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's all the things that are said behind the scenes, aren't they? There are certain things that people will say to your face, but yeah, and then will deny it.
Absolutely. And then my job was to pepper what I told you to share so that you didn't feel hurt and stuff. And only because you're so many years out of your weight battle journey that we're able to delve into these issues at that time. But as not just as your agent, but obviously a long-term friend of yours, we're all family here, that those were terrible phone calls to have to take, and to get those phone calls to know that this is not just my client on the other end of the line, it's a friend of mine. And you got booked on shows, and they would literally say, do you think she might put some more weight on before she turns up? I mean, it's sick that that's what they wanted. I've represented some really very famous men. We don't need to name check them because we're talking about girls here. And they're older, they're seasoned, Colleen's got a few ideas of who I'm talking about here. And they're people that have known for being heartthrobs. Do you know where I'm going, Coleen, here? And no one has rang me up and gone, has he still got his looks? What does he look like? Is he still dyeing his hair? Has he gone grey? Nobody ever does that. But with a woman, they will think that they can say those things. And there were several shows that you didn't get, and there were several shows that you did get. And some of the shows that you got, they focused on it, and they went out of their way to highlight that. And I remember one booker saying to me, because your weight loss journey was a real journey for you, because it began when you started Steps and you were told that you needed to lose weight, weren't you?
Yeah, right in the very beginning it was kind of the condition that I got the job. So it was a pattern, I suppose, for me for a long time. And that was being sat down in an audition room by two men saying, we want you, we think you've got a great voice, but would you be prepared to lose weight? Because at the moment we think you're too big. And I was 19 years old, and I was no bigger than a size 12, I don't think. I mean, I always had a thing about having a big bum, so I used to tie hoodie round my waist to hide it. And I suppose I was a little bit mortified that they thought I was big, but at 19, it was something I wanted. So I just went away and I did a ridiculous diet and exercised ridiculous until I only actually lost half a stone. I remember I lost half a stone from the day they told me to the day we went back in a room for rehearsals to do our showcase. And the reaction was, oh, wow, you look amazing. You've lost so much weight. And it was only half a stone. It wasn't much. And I was like, I think I'd gotten down to about 9.5 stone. So I must have only been like 10 stone anyway. when they'd asked me to lose weight. So as a 19-year-old, I just did what I was told, and it just spiraled. It's kind of, but I can't imagine that the boys had been asked to do the same.
No, but it's that it gave you an eating disorder. That ultimatum is where your eating issues began, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I was always really, really sporty and fit when I was at school, and didn't think, as any teenage girl, you have your hang-ups and stuff, I guess. But and even the years where I put weight on, I've never had treatment for an eating disorder, but I honestly think that there is something in, if you can be one way, an eating disorder it's not just about being really, really thin. It's it's almost about how you eat and the food that you put into you when you're bigger as well. That's just my way of thinking around it, because it was one extreme to the other. It's like extreme behavior, but it was all because of the focus and that ultimatum, I suppose, right at the very beginning. I didn't want to not be in the band.
No, and also, like, again, those phone calls kept coming, and you would be photographed, and I would be with you sometimes, and you would see them do the equivalent of an upskirt, which was an up bum, to try and get an unflattering angle of you.
Or eating a cake.
Yeah, anything.
That's a good one.
Yeah, they followed you once when you were with the kids and you'd been to a park and you were just having some lunch, and they printed the photographs of you with cake. I mean, show me a male photo of a celebrity that they've done that to. Girls, have you seen that with anyone else?
No, never. No. I have to say, I find it fascinating because from my point of view, you would see younger women than me come into Coronation Street for the first time, and they would be healthy, happy young women, not sticking sex by any means, but they would be normal looking women. And within 6 months, they would have lost so much weight, they would be dieting. I have heard conversations in the green room. I've heard women say, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to go to the gym because I've just eaten nuts.
Oh God.
And you think, for goodness sake, but no one ever, first of all, people will say to women, oh gosh, you've put weight on, you're a bit chubby. But in our business, they would never say, you are underweight, you don't look healthy. They never go the other way. And it's about being healthy and being happy. But I think mainly it's men in the business who do put that pressure on, and I still believe that now. But I think some women do that too, to other women.
Oh, definitely.
And it's so unfair. We should stick together. But it's the same as, if it's ageism or weightist, I don't know. Years ago, if a man was wild, was late on set, didn't know his lines, he would be known as a hellraiser. If it were a woman, she'd be known as a bit of an old slag, and she was on the sauce last night, and she would be sacked. But the men wouldn't, and the men were wanted.
And so many experiences of that on that show. We're not going to name names, but several male stars on Coronation Street with big drug scandals, untouched. A woman with an affair, or maybe a weight gain, or an incident that happened to them, like you had when you had mental health issues.
Yeah, completely differently.
Told they were unreliable, told that they couldn't be banked on. So you can sit in the back of a car and smoke crack, or you can buy Coke and you can rock up as a man. But you, Beverley Callard, Queen of Coronation Street, had a clinical diagnosis. And what did they say to you?
Well, they actually said to me, I had returned to work and I was filming in virtually every scene every day, because I was in a storyline, the McDonald's were involved in a storyline. And then a man said to me, you are not going to be involved in the 50th storyline of Coronation Street's 50th birthday, because you've had clinical depression. You may be flaky and unreliable.
Wow. They were written out. But if you had a cocaine problem, an alcohol problem, or you'd been caught in some sort of sex scandal trial, you'd have been on set.
Yeah, indeed.
Because they were men.
Yeah, men are treated, to this day, they are treated differently, completely differently. You know, a man can have, even to, if they have the screaming abdabs on set and tell someone off, and they say, look, I'm not accepting this, I need to do this again or whatever, it'll be fine. If a woman does that, then the whispers will go around saying, do you know what, I think so-and-so is a bit of a diva.
That's right.
So not true. So not true. I've heard it said about female co-stars of mine, but they never say it about the men.
No.
And it's really fascinating. Another thing that happened to me when I first started playing Liz in 1989, you literally are fed to the lions as far as the press goes. And they said to me, the press officer at the time was a man, and he said to me, if the press are writing something nice about you, they'll say your true age, or they may even knock a few years off. If they're doing a horrible story about you, they will add a couple of years onto your age. He said, but they never do that to men.
Never. And I can testify that obviously we're not doing a big mention about it today, but obviously Ruthless Women is still in the Sunday Times bestseller and has caused us to get online and talk about all these issues that are affecting women in the entertainment industry that inspired me to write that book. And in the press that I've done for that book, I am 44 years old. If I was going to lie about my age, I would lie about it. You can find it online. You can find it on Company's House. That's easy to find. I was in the Times, which was like supposedly hallowed ground to be in, and they put, she says she's 44.
Oh, gosh.
Wow.
I am 44. And to be quite honest, I look damn bloody good for it. And I could say that I looked younger, but I didn't feel the need to lie because I don't believe that 44, 54, 64 is old. Of course, then the trolls came out and there were trolls underneath it going, I went to school with her and I'm 76.
Shut up.
Oh my God.
Actually, that was me. I said that.
Then you're adding your years up. The reason I mention that though is the fact is, would that publication have said about a man, he says he's 44?
Never.
No.
Never, ever in a million years.
No.
I don't feel like it even matters as much for a man. It doesn't seem to, but every time next to a woman's name, it's like, you've got to get the age in.
And I think so often you will see a series, first of all, you'll see, you know, whether it be Netflix, whoever, and we're all into those, especially at the moment because of lockdown, but you will see a series and it will probably have 12 men in it, 2 women if you're lucky. But you can bet your life there will be some men who are overweight and who are maybe not thought of as handsome, but they will be thought of as character actors if they're weather beaten or whatever. I can't think of a phrase to use, but the women will always be younger and slim and usually quite beautiful. And that happens so often. You'll have a husband of 55 and his wife will be 35. But they never do it the other way around. No,
and if they do, they make a real point of sticking the word cougar all over the woman and making it a caricature. But to go back to the way that women are subjected to the way that they look and pulled apart. So you have, over in Coleen's territory here, been famous over 50 years. You've sold 30 million records. You've been on TV all your life. And I remember when I was first representing you, must be nearly 20 years ago now, you were on Loose Women, but you were just doing Loose Women at the time, weren't you, Coleen?
Yeah.
I
was.
Just on the panel. And Loose Women was starting to heat up, and you know, we found that there was a lot of traction around Coleen, and I could tell that Coleen was popular. And Coleen had never, bizarrely, had a front cover, had you?
No. And I didn't believe you when you said you could get me one, to be fair.
And
but you did.
I thought, here is this woman that I could tell, because I can't remember what level we were at with social media, but you'd go out with Coleen and everybody would want to come up and say hello. And you just thought, there's a movement here. People like her. And we used to get post mail for you. And there were very strange letters. And I say this without any judgment on the way they were written. But they used to say specifically the same thing, which is, I wish you were my neighbour. I wish you were my daughter. I wish you lived next door. I wish you was my friend. And I found those really heartening and warming, because I thought, that's the real people of this country. They care about her. So I made an appointment to go up to the old ITV towers, which doesn't exist anymore, and went to see the head of daytime, who's no longer there and is not going to be name checked because he does not work at ITV anymore, and this is a different era. And I made an appointment to see him, and I said I would like to talk about Coleen Nolan and the fact that I think that she could do more than Loose Women. And he laughed out loud and said, she's lucky to have a job on that panel. She's a middle-aged housewife. I think you were about 38 actually, from what I remember. Yeah, because you weren't even 40, because you got engaged at 40.
That's so right, yeah.
You'd have been in your 30s. She was in her 30s, right? And you were about a size 16 at the time, weren't you?
Yeah.
And he said, you know, she's lucky to be there. She's not famous. They're not watching her. And I said, listen, I beg to differ here. She's been famous since she was 2, 3, 4 years old. She's traveled all over the world. They know her. And he went, well, if you think she's so famous and you think she's so popular and you think there's an audience for her, why don't you tell her to get onto Dancing on Ice and see whether they'll vote for her?
Oh. And they did. Yay.
Of course they did.
Of course they did. But before we get there, I had to ring you and tell you what had happened.
Yeah.
And how did you feel when I told you? Because I was honest with you. I said, do you want the truth? Because Coleen is very much a just give it to me type. You like no, don't you? And I said, do you want to know the truth? Or do you want me to clean it up? Like Beverley likes the 50-50. She likes to tidy up. Just give it a try. And Claire doesn't want to know at all. But you want to know. So I said, do you want to know the truth? And you said, tell me. And I said, right, we've got two choices. We can either take it and accept that this is how they see you, right? Or you can play them at their own game and you can do Dancing on Ice. And if you do it, I don't want you to be their comedy booking, which is what they wanted, wasn't it? I said, are you willing? Because we know the business. Obviously, I was looking after Claire. We knew about weight loss and weight gain. Beverley, you've been doing fitness DVD for years. We know what weight loss will do for a woman in show business. It's pathetic, but it's true. And I said, as your agent, I'm going to give you two options. You can go on and be the comedy entertainment, or we can fight them at their own battle. You're getting married anyway. I know you wanted to get slimmer, like all women do, just because of the big day. Do we go for it? Do we battle this out? And do you rock up on that set a size 12? And you went for it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. But I've got to say, I mainly, honestly, hand on my heart, did that because I was also going to get married. And I did, it was more important for me to feel brilliant on my wedding day than to appease some fat old boss at work, basically. But I think for me, I mean, obviously I'm shocked listening to Claire and things that have been said to Claire and to Bev or about them. I think because I've been in the business so long and with women, you know, and I don't just mean that my loose women girls, I mean my sisters as well. I guess we've always been judged as women, but I guess the difference was when I was with my sisters, there was no social media really. So it didn't really harm you unless people actually wrote to you, which they didn't, or certainly trolls didn't. I don't know, it kind of, you were kind of battered away from it. I think nowadays, I think what's more shocking, I have to be honest, because the whole male side of it in the industry now doesn't surprise me because it's just been like that for so long. Yeah. What surprises me now is when it's our own sex doing it too. Mm-hmm. You know, when you get trolled and it's a woman going, you're so ugly and you're so fat and you're so old, and you think, wow, we're all meant to be in the same corner, you know, fighting against all of that. And it does happen a lot. I think women are quite judgmental as well, I have to say. Yeah. And just so no one thinks we're totally on here saying it's all men, because it's not. I think women are quite judgmental. However, we know, Melanie, that they've tested me a few times in things like primetime telly and stuff like that. And it's gone really well. Really well, to the point of them being shocked that it's gone well, and that's down to the amazing public. But they still can't see past it. They can't see past the age, and they can't see past, you know, whatever size I am at the time. And I think that's the tragedy, really. You know, I'm very lucky that, you know, Loose Women, whatever, you know, whether you're a fan or not, it's the only show on telly that has women of all ages, all sizes, all colour, and outside of that, because sometimes people go, well, it's obviously not, you know, sexist because you're on telly every day, and I want to go, yeah, from 12:30 till 1:30, but name me anyone my age in prime time, you know, co-hosting a show or whatever. You just don't see it, and I think that's really sad.
If you look at game shows, is there a woman who presents a game show?
No,
they are all men. I'm not saying I would like to, but because it's not my thing, but there is not one woman who does a game show.
There used to, what was it? The Weakest Link really was the only one, and Sam Toxvig for a while was on 15 to 1, but it's I would say she's a very kind of quirky, and that Anne Robinson was a quirky kind of host, but that's the only one. It was, and she played the stern,
like the school mistress.
Yes,
school mistress.
It was like a character that and it's not. You're right. There's no way. It's all men.
No, so what I would say to that though is that, but Coleen, like, you won an Emmy Award and didn't get offered another job.
No. You know, I think it doesn't matter what I say. I think it is to do with age, and I think it's to do with size. And I honestly believe that if I went next week and had all kinds of surgery done, I'd be offered more work, certainly in prime time. But I'm just absolutely refusing to do it. You know, I'm very happy with myself, and I'm not going to do that to appease somebody.
And on that note, the one primetime show you were given from a network was to send you off to a plastic surgeon to see what they could do to make you look younger. Yeah.
And actually, it was a really interesting show. It's like a documentary, really, and it was really interesting because I've always been fascinated by it and why people do it. But it really affected me, you know, to have someone sit there and go, well, I would probably have about £20,000 worth of work just on my face, was quite shocking. And for them to point everything out. And that was so many years ago, Mel. And you know what? Until that happened to me, I never noticed any of that. And since that programme, that's all I see now when I kind of look in the mirror. And I think my kids help as well, because they're like, Mum, please, you know, don't mess about. It just scares them really. But, you know, as you know, Mel, 2 of my sisters have had facelifts and they look amazing and they're really happy with it. But I feel I would be doing it purely to go, now will you, you know, give me more work on, and I just refuse to do that.
Well, and when it came to the primetime shows, when you were offered primetime shows, and I can testify, and again, watching at home, you know who you are. I got those phone calls from the controllers saying, if she stays thin, we'll give her more primetime episodes. If she gains that weight, we'll take them away. And you found that a reminder of the past, didn't you, of being controlled with weight and stuff, and it made you go the other way, and you actively ate, didn't you?
Yeah, I ate my own body weight in chocolate. Yeah, it was fantastic. Never been happier. And now I've lost a lot of weight. I'm very lucky actually in lockdown, because but I've not once said I'm on a diet ever. It was just during lockdown, and because I was scared of catching COVID and stuff like that, I decided to really, really, really start eating as healthy as I could. And so did Kira, so did my kids, and I've lost loads of weight. But the best thing is I've purely done it for my health reasons. It's a bonus that the weight's coming off as well. But it's pure, it's nothing to do with it, because now I think even if I was a size 8, they'd go, but you're 56. It's like, you can't win.
No.
So I'm not going to try.
It that men, or there's this kind of myth that men get better with age, but women don't.
That's right.
I feel, as a person, and how I feel about myself, I feel more confident, more like I know what I'm talking about. I'm more able to do a job than I did when I was 25. But because of this, it ages. But whereas with a man, this ages and it's fine. You'll get booked for other TVs and stuff because you're a guy and you're now distinguished. Whereas women, we just look haggard.
And that,
yes, they always say that, don't they? He's older, but he looks really distinguished. When they're describing a woman, they say she's older, but maybe she's past her sell-by date. You think, wow, no.
I feel more capable of doing anything that I do now than I did even 10 years ago. And I think it's just really disturbing that you can't, as you get all your experience and everything that you learn throughout your life, unless you are male, you're not going to be able to apply it or use it in your career.
I was going to say as well, on top of that, we're talking about within our industry and within the media, but to take it away from even that, I think it's just women in general. It's women in normal life, women who have normal lives, I think, come up against this in their work, or the way people talk to them or include them seems to change the older they get. I just think it's a woman thing, not necessarily celebrity.
Yeah, but to now spin this on its axis, Beverley Callard, you are just about to undergo a facelift. So you are the only one of the panel today that actually, as your agent, I have never had a phone call about describing you in any way, shape or form that would be unflattering, but you have made a choice that you as a woman now feel that you need to do something in order to have a fresh life now you've left Coronation Street. Can you talk us through why you've made that decision?
Yeah, you see, I'd love to be like Coleen, and I adore her. I think she's beautiful. She's got the most amazing personality. We work together and she makes me laugh. I love her. I don't feel like that about me. And I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm 63. I don't actually want to be any younger. But I don't want my working life to finish because of the number of years I am, rather than anything else. Also, I'm never happy with me. You know that. That's my demons. I hate mirrors. I don't look at photographs of myself, nothing like that ever. And it's not false modesty.
No,
I just don't like it. Even if we're driving along in the car, if John's driving and I'm in the front passenger seat and I pull the thingy down to look in the mirror, I have to put it back up. I hate it. That's just me. And so I feel that maybe my working life won't come to an end because of the way I look. And so I want to do it. I have to say, John really doesn't want me to have it done. And I've only told, we've got 5 children between us, John and I, and I've only told one of them. And that one said, oh, no, 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 no. But I am going to do it. I am going to do it, but I'm doing it for me. As I say, I don't want to be younger. I will never lie about my age.
no.
I just hope it might make me look a bit better.
And can I just say, though, that you're not lying about your age, but you're not lying about the surgery. When you know so many women, old friends with new faces.
Yeah.
That appear and say it's soap and water. But my question to you is, considering that this episode of Girl Talk is about the disparities between men and women, are you doing it because you know that if you don't do it, there is much more chance that you will not get a lot of those roles?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I am, and I admit it. And I hate bullying in any shape or form, but sometimes I feel we are emotionally bullied into it. And I hope I don't succumb to it, but maybe I am succumbing to it by actually doing that. I don't criticize other women for the way they look. And as you said, I've worked in the fitness industry for years and years, over 30 years. I never, ever advocate being a stick insect or being a couch potato. I think the whole idea of being fit and healthy is to feel healthy, but also feel good about yourself. No, it doesn't matter what size you are.
No.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what age you are. But unfortunately, the world doesn't see it that way. And of course it happens in our industry all the time. And of course, I'm sure if you worked at Marks and Spencer's, it would happen to you. I'm sure if you worked in the financial markets, it will really happen. But ours, because we put ourselves out there for people to look at us doing our job, I think people think we put ourselves out there just to be scrutinized. And yes, if someone wrote about me and said, do you know what, she was terrible in that role and I wasn't convinced, I would take a criticism like that. But when you read something, I've not had horrific things said about me, but you read something where they criticize, a TV critic will just criticize the way a woman looks rather than what she is doing with her job. And why would they do that? They get really personal.
And it would be a male critic.
I don't even know if it is sometimes. I think a lot of the things that have been written about me over the years, sometimes it's a female journalist writing it, and that's even harder to take sometimes, because like Coleen said before, women, we should be having each other's back, especially in this day and age. But the whole social media thing Coleen touched on earlier is quite a scary world for me. And I think we've done a lot of interviews lately and been asked about it, and I think we remember life before social media, and we remember when there was just a story about it in the newspaper, in the tabloids, and it would take a couple of days to hit the news. Now it's instant, it's within minutes sometimes. And it's not just celebrities that are being criticized. It's everybody. It's everyone has an opinion on everybody. And it's generally because, like Instagram, it's photographs, Snapchat, it's photographs. It's about what people look like. And we've become obsessed as a society on what people look like. And and women are focused on more because I think there may be more negatives. Like Reese, my husband, for example, he doesn't post pictures of himself on Instagram, but if a boy's fit and muscly, he will post loads of photographs of himself, whereas we tend to, you know, do selfies or you're out with your friends, and it's kind of a bit more, it's easier to be criticized. But it's not just, I'm terrified for my kids.
Yes,
that's all they know. They don't know life before, and they think it's normal, and it's not.
But from the other end perspective, just to bring in the fact that you say it's not always men. Now, as I stepped forward into the limelight, as it were, a little bit with you girls, as I've been promoting my books, and Coleen has been there for some of these instances, I have been at the end of some horrific female bullying, where women literally do not want me to look glamorous, attractive, or in any way, shape, or form pull focus. And that has amazed me too, because as a woman's woman, and I would hope that I could ask you to all answer this in unison, like, is there anyone you've met that fights for women more than I do?
Absolutely not. You really do.
To be honest, I remember when I first met you, you were never really interested in the young, glamorous 19, 20-year-olds. You always had something inside you that really wanted to fight for women, you know, of a certain age and a certain size. And so you always felt, even then, how unfair it was. And I think we're all really appreciative of that, to be honest.
And Melanie, you love feisty women.
I do. And
you do not like insipid women.
No, and I support other women, and I don't see that women, I was in my 20s when I met you all, and now in my mid-40s, and I've never ever stopped fighting strong women, but I've dealt with some women that we all know I've dealt with that have said to me, one woman in particular, when Coleen and I were at an award ceremony, and I was wearing a dress not massively similar to this, maybe there was a bit of cleavage like so, which I don't think would be horrendous. I mean, I've got boobs, I'm allowed to have them out. And she came up to me and said, I really don't think that dress is appropriate. And I went, pardon? And she said, I don't think you should wear that dress. It's not appropriate. And I was like,
for who?
Well, obviously for her, because she didn't have any boobs, maybe. And I said, sorry, am I talking to the woman that goes to the opening envelope dressed as a twig, literally, to get as much publicity as possible? And
told you never to talk about that conversation.
Well, I know. Sorry, Claire, I've got to bring it up. But it all kicked off that night. You know which night I'm talking about, Coleen.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the first night. And there was another client that came up as well that night, a former client. There was a big clear out from that year. And she came up and said some absolutely disgraceful things about what I was wearing. And it was simply down to the fact that I was wearing a dress that she couldn't wear. And therefore she wanted to put me down. And this woman in particular that I'm talking about doesn't have a single attractive female friend. Not one of them. Every single one of them.
Wow.
Every single woman then that you see around this woman, and she's on TV all the time, is not a glamorous type woman. And she actually said to me, whenever I had to meet her for a meeting, I want you to wear jeans and a polo neck.
Oh. Sackcloth and ashes.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness me.
I mean, the thing is, they've got the right to tell someone how to dress for a meeting. I mean, it's just weird.
Well, she did. She thought she could tell me what to do, and obviously, you know, toodaloo. And that was the end of that. But like, you know, it is sad that, like you say, that some women don't support other women, and that women that do support women and fight for women like we do. I mean, you are all so kind and so supportive of other women, and we've all done a rest, and yet we've all been on the end of the battering stick for weight, age, size, class, whatever it is. And I'm sad to say that I don't see it getting any better.
I don't think it is. It's funny because as lockdown is coming to an end, we're hoping, I've told all the women in my life that I'm going to have a party just for women. And it's not because I'm anti-men, absolutely not. You know, my husband is a mega shag, so I am not anti-men at all. But I have got amazing women who come to my fitness classes, amazing women who I went to school with. We've known each other since we were 10 years old, amazing female cousins. And I want us all to get together and just, yes, we will get drunk. I will be on the porn star martinis, but boy, we will have such a good time. You will be there, girls, I hasten to add.
I know, can I jump in here and like something that, so following on from the two bitches that I was just describing, and they are bitches, so I will use those words, who had an issue with the way that I looked versus the way that they looked. Beverley did something very special a couple of months ago to me that actually made me cry. And I have had so much Botox, I didn't know it was possible. I do think it might have come out of my ears. But she called me, and it was about when John had asked her to renew her vows. And Beverley rang me and said, I've got a question to ask you. And I said, oh yeah, what is it? And she said, feel free to say no. And I thought, well, this is weird, what's it going to be? And she said, I'd love you to be my matron of honour at their renewal. But I've got one question that I need to ask you that I want you to agree to. Now, bearing in mind what had happened to me with the sweater and the whatever else I've been told to wear from these other women, I was prepared. I thought, oh, I've known Beverley 26 years. This can't be coming. I just don't believe this is going to happen. Like, she's going to say, I want you to wear twin set and pearls.
I want you to wear a packamack and a sou'wester.
But out of respect for you, because you've done nothing but be lovely to me for decades, I was ready. I was surprised. I was unexpecting it. I was like, I don't know why it's going to come, but I'm going to suck it up. If she wants me in a lavender piece of crap, I'm going to wear it. And she said, I want you to make a promise. You look absolutely drop dead gorgeous on that.
I did say that, yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
And I want you to look killer. Wear whatever you want. Now, I would never rock up to a wedding, red dress, plunge down this, that, and that. But the point was, I loved you that moment. For all the things about women that I love, that you're not like that. Colleen's not like that. Claire Richards is not like that. I mean,
I might have made you wear something shit, so I look better.
So I was at your wedding, and you didn't. I remember at your wedding, Claire, when I made you get up and do the speech, when literally I was like, I can't, because I can't stand inequality. And at Claire's wedding, obviously the men get up, but the women don't get up. It's like tradition. And I was looking at her across the table.
No, let's get it from across the room. She's doing this. It's about everybody else who's speaking and going, get the mic, get the mic. Get the mic. And I'm catching her eye thinking, oh my God, I can't. And I did in the end. I got it. I got the mic and made it speak.
And I was so proud. And the same with Coleen. Like, I was so proud. Coleen did a wonderful speech. And like, don't tell me at a wedding that a woman has to sit there and say nothing. It's like, what year is it? There's not pitchforks outside. We need to change these traditions. And I think, we've done another girls talk chat tonight, and there's going to be many more of these shows. They're going to be talking about so many more taboos, from relationships to love to pain, recovery, and all sorts and stuff. But tonight was really interesting for me because being in the eye of the storm myself for the first time, you've been there for a lot longer than me, so you've been used to it. And I'm getting these sort of comments like about Ruthless Women, where I'll look at the sidebar and it'll be like, oh, look at her, blonde, busty, slept her way to the top. Well, I'd have a job because I've only ever represented women. So like, and like, you know, pulling at my age and stuff. And like for years I've been comforting you and going, don't read it, it's fine, it's fine. And now I'm on the other end of it. That like I felt that today I just wanted to sort of explore, like if people can take away a message from this, from you all, that are all, you're all in a different decade, so 40s, 50s, 60s, and you know, like what would you like to say to people that report on you and what you do? Like how would you like it to change? And I'll start with you, Coleen.
I think something that Bev said earlier, which is if you're going to report on something I do career-wise, then I'm all for constructive criticism. You know, if you don't like something I'm doing, you've every right to say you don't like it constructively. However, I would want to say that when you are saying things personally about somebody, that you should choose your words carefully because they hurt and it costs nothing to be kind. No. You know, you don't have to go over the top and go, oh, they're beautiful and don't they look great for their age or whatever, but equally don't go the other way. And I think it's all about just remembering now that words hurt, and that could be somebody talking about your mother or your sister or your auntie, and how would you feel if you heard those words? So I think just to be thoughtful.
I think that's really nice advice. Beverley?
Yeah, I really hope it does get better, but I'm not sure it will. I would say to those people, whether it be someone who's trolling someone, or someone on Twitter, someone on Instagram, or a journalist writing, just think, how would you feel if someone said that about your daughter? You just wouldn't want that. I don't want to be mean to someone. I don't want to hurt their feelings. I wouldn't say, oh my goodness, you look absolutely gorgeous, if I didn't think you did, but I wouldn't say anything. You know, I wouldn't deliberately hurt someone. And I don't understand that mentality of someone at all.
And that has to change. That's the equivalent of you're in a nightclub years ago, your friend turns up in a horrendous dress and you don't say anything. Maybe 2 weeks later you go, oh, you know that dress you wore that night and stuff, I'm just wondering, can I borrow it? And then you burn it.
Yeah.
You don't do that to them on that night. And
no.
I'm going to give you an intro of yours. You are, you know, one of the most talented vocalists that we have ever had in this country. You are. You don't say things like that about yourself, so I know you'll find that uncomfortable. But the point is that how do you feel about the fact that no one ever talks about your voice?
I think for a long time it's just something I think I'm used to now, and it is something that I always go, I know I can sing, I know I can, and I mean, but in here there's always a nagging kind of voice going, oh, it's not good enough, it's never going to be good enough, which is probably my confidence and the way I am anyway. But I feel like I'm constantly having to remind people, but it's it just has become something different, and it has been like that for a long time. It's, you know, it's annoying that everything has to be about the way people look, and I don't, if you're not going to have the guts to say it to somebody's face, then I don't know why it's okay to say it on a keyboard when people can't see your face. I would never agree with Bev. I would never say some of the things that people think are okay to say to us. I mean, we are sitting ducks in a way. We're easy targets because we're out there and doing it. But I personally didn't get into this business to be attacked for something that doesn't really matter. Again, if someone says, actually, she sounded really crap on that record, or she can't really dance as well as the others, I know that, and that's fine.
Right.
And I will take that. But to just focus on, she put a bit of weight on, or she's starting to look a bit old, or that outfit was terrible, it's just not really, it's just not nice.
Well, no, it's not. And a journalist once wrote an article like guessing your weight, didn't they? Oh,
do you know what? Recently, I've been kind of going through old old archives and stuff. I've got these big trunks full of stuff, and there's one full of merch, and it's my mum kept everything. And I found there's a newspaper, and there was an article about my weight, and before social media, at the bottom, and I couldn't believe this, I didn't know it at the time, but at the bottom there was, do you think Claire is too fat? Ring this number. Or do you think she still looks all right? Ring this number.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, I would like to think you wouldn't be able to do that now, but I could not believe it. And it must have been less than 20 years ago that was in a newspaper.
And we have not changed at all. It's now online, and it's all still subjected to us about the way we look, from me being described as 76 last week to, I have to say, I look pretty amazing. To all those other comments. And I think let's round up this episode of Girl Talk with like one message that we'd like to put out there about how we think things can change.
The message is we have to stick together, and we have to support each other and say, you go, girl, you know, no matter what field you're in, go and excel at it, and let's not knock each other.
That's right.
Or I agree with everything that's just been said. I also think that sometimes it is naturally, you know, when girls are around, you know, we probably bitch about things or whatever. What my issue is, that's fine in the privacy of your own room or your own kitchen, but let's not then put it all over social media. That's what I hate. You know, I can't sit here like an angel and go, I've never looked at someone and gone, oh God, I don't like that outfit she's wearing, but I've never dreamt of messaging that girl and telling her, that's cruel, and I would never do that.
I think it is important for people to remember that most of us are here because we are good at what we do, and not because of what we look like or how old we are. I think there's been a little bit of sight lost in the industry with women, because, you know, we are good at our jobs, we're good at what we do, and we are talented. So why can't we just focus on the talent rather than the package the talent comes in?
I think you've rounded that up absolutely perfectly, Claire. So I would like to say thank you, girls, for joining me on Girl Talk again. I think we need to just keep talking about these issues that need to be brought up to the surface, because somewhere along the line, people in power are going to have to start taking notice. It's not a Me Too movement, but it is a movement that does need to be recognised, that things do need to change, that men and women in media are treated differently, and it isn't a fair way to go. So thanks so much for joining me on the latest episode of Girl Talk, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you. Bye.